taught a variety of different grade levels, different schools. I was hired in at third grade elementary school, spent 16 years teaching a variety of grades at elementary school, and then I went to work over at Oak Harbor Middle School and spent 3 years over there and teaching history, and currently I work over at North Whidbey Middle School teaching 6th and 7th grade history. I can remember, I've wanted to be a teacher. Just as long as I can remember. It's the only job that I really felt that I was going to do. I remember my dad wanted me to go to college and be an accountant, and so I took some accounting classes, and I didn't like it very much. And then and I told him I was going to be a teacher, and he said you'll never make any money. And I said I'm going to love what I do. I'm going to love what I do. So that was the end of that conversation. Fifth grade, I was fifth grade, and I had Mrs. Bean, Helen Bean. I'll never forget her. She was fantastic. And the thing that I really liked about her was she was very strict but very fair, and so when she called you on something, you knew it. And I had been caught cheating on something, and another student had turned me in, and she brought me into the center room, and I'll never forget it. She just laid into me. She completely told me, this is not acceptable. I can't believe you're doing this. Just the same kinds of things that when I find a student cheating, it's the same kinds of things that I find myself telling them. But what really did it for me was that she told me, she said, I know you can do better. And for her to say that was really a big deal, because I felt it was honest, that she really did believe that I could do better, that I could do this without cheating. And that was powerful for me. It was very inspirational. But I think what really draws me right now to middle school, and did with my initial move to middle school 4 years ago, was the idea of working with older kids. Not necessarily that they could do more, but I wanted to experience what it would be like to work with them and get to know them and understand how they think, how they do things, their sense of humor, how they interact with one another. So it was kind of nice, because as Ryan got older, I could move grades and get a better feel for what he was going through in classes. And so the transition to middle school for me just seemed like a natural step to, in preparation for him growing older, but also because I really wanted to get to know those kids at that age and see how they were. The social development piece, that citizenship piece, I think is critical to having a well-rounded adult. And so while I'm passionate about what I teach in my content, what I'm really interested in is, 10 years from now, when a student comes to me and says, I really liked your class, what I want them to tell me is not that they really like learning about the Code of Hammurabi or Egyptian pyramids. What I want them to say is I made a really great connection with a teacher, and I learned how to solve problems, and I learned how to work with other people. That to me is just as important as reading, writing, and arithmetic. know, the kind of the drawback with teaching is that a lot of these kids will go, you know, many years before you see them, and then you see them, and then they tell you what the impact was. A couple of years ago, I had a student that I'd had in 5th grade, and he was a junior or senior at that point, and I ran into him in the store, and he came over and said hello to me, and I recognized him, but I couldn't place him. And he had said, you know, he told me his name, and I went, oh, okay, I remember now. And he had told me that he was a student who we were looking at retaining because he just was not performing very well. And I always thought that he had it in him to do it, to be successful in school. When we were deciding whether or not to retain him, he came to a meeting and he said, I'm going to get serious, I'm going to do this. And so we held off on making a decision to see if he actually would. And he turned his grades around and started to become very successful. And he was telling me that for him, that was probably the most important point in his education, because I really put his feet to the fire and made him accountable for his work and for being a student, for learning how to learn. And that to me was huge. So, you know, when you get to run into those kids every now and again and they tell you that, it's really great. The classroom teacher simply can't do their job without the support of the parent. Just like the parent can't educate the child without the support of the teacher. You know, it's this triangle. We're all working together. I mean, I see the main role that I see parents having is, you know, they can help with homework. That's huge. Help with homework. You know, be involved. Talk to them. Oh, what'd you do today? And then when they say, well, we didn't do anything, you know, pry a little more, dig a little more, get them to talk about specifics. You know, the role, I think, of the parent is to show the child that they are interested and involved in their education, and that can be done in many different ways. You can't educate the child without the parent involvement, without the teacher involvement, and without the child involvement. And with any one of those three missing, you're not gonna be able to help that kid reach their potential. So that parent component, bringing in those parents who just don't want to come in for whatever reason that is, you've got to find a way to be able to bring them in and let them know that, you know, it's just a classroom and I'm just a person, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk, and really what I want to do more than anything is help you work with your child to be successful. I'm not sure that I could teach without technology anymore. I mean, that's really how much it's influenced me. I got a classroom set of iPods that I'm able to use, and last year I got them when I was teaching elementary school over at Hillcrest, and it was fabulous. I loved what I was able to do with that and how I was able to utilize those tools. You know, every kid had one on their desk all day long. When they'd finish up with an activity, there were always apps that they could use that supported whatever we were working on. Fractions, division, decimals, multiplication, division, whatever we were working on. Language arts, you know, we would do, you know, adjectives and adverbs, and they'd have to identify those. So, you know, there's an app for that. The other day, as a matter of fact, my son came home and he had to do, he was doing a makeup assignment and he didn't bring his book home, so we were able to log on and, you know, go look at his book. So, and that's a whole aspect of technology that maybe a lot of people don't realize, is that we have that ability as you know, parents and then students to be able to log on and look at, you know, the elementary reading and math curriculum.